See if you can operate the production board. You excited for that? Are you nervous or what? What's going on, man?
I think I got a pretty good handle on it. Pretty simple stuff for the most part.
Oh, yeah, a little overconfident there. Beware of the overconfidence.
Nah, everything's labeled on the board, so I mean, if you kind of screw it up, that's on you.
You better think about a different major.
God, I hope not.
Nick, I know you're a big high school football fan. You graduated a couple years ago from Egg Harbor Township, and you were living this stuff a couple years ago. What's it like now being on the outside? You're kind of studying to be a journalist and a broadcast journalism, so you're keeping track of all this stuff. What are your thoughts on this season? Anything surprise you?
It was a very good season. Exciting. Thing I was looking at, looking at my boys back at EHT. I mean, they had a tough end.
Yeah,
to a 3-0 start, and they ended last night with a loss to Millville in overtime. That was 5 straight losses right there. Finished 3-5, and they're playing a consolation game. And unfortunately, they still haven't made the playoffs since 2010.
Right.
But so they'll look forward to. They have 2 more games. Try to finish at 5-5. Equal last year's record.
Right.
Finish 500. And then just Stetzer's gonna have to. Get it ready to get going for next year.
It could be a little different next year. The Cape Atlantic League is sort of dissolving and joining up with the West Jersey Football League to form that big super conference. So we'll kind of have to see what goes on in terms of scheduling. Maybe they won't have to play teams like St. Augustine and St. Joe's, some of those real powerhouse parochial programs. So we'll see what the schedule brings for next year.
They'll probably play more powerhouse programs in terms of public schools, probably.
Right. Williamstown and Hamilton and all that stuff.
Williamstown, Hamilton again, throwing a little Lenape or Cherokee there once in a while. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I think they'll still have relatively the same schedule because all those Cape teams are moving over to that West Jersey Football League. So they'll probably relatively have the same schedule. Maybe just throwing it instead of the parochial schools, they'll probably throw in teams like Lenape, Cherokee, something like that.
Let's take a quick change in direction here. We're going to get back to high school football in just a minute or two. Wanted to touch on some wrestling as that season's going to be getting going soon. And tell us a little bit about the Rutgers program. I know you're kind of getting involved with that a little bit and maybe trying to broadcast some of that stuff. And Scott Goodale runs a great program up there. Got some Cape Atlantic League guys. Phil, how do you say it?
Bukakis is up there.
Bukakis from Hamilton, right?
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about that program. I know there's a lot of excitement around that program. They've really come a long way in the last couple of years.
Yeah, they've been usually ranked in the top 25 each year, especially before they went to the Big Ten. They entered the Big Ten last year. I mean, they were 14-7 last year.
Are the rankings out yet for preseason?
They've already had a couple. The season's already started.
Oh, is it okay?
Yeah, they're actually 3.
That's right. College starts pretty early.
They're already 3-0.
Nice.
It was 3 shutouts. I mean, they were lower end D1 teams and one D3 team. That's their annual Rutgers duels. But they were 3-0 start to the season. They are ranked 18th currently in the top 25 poll,
nice.
Which is very good. And considering they are Big Ten worthy, or they're a Big Ten team, they are looking for a top 10 finish this year. I think they can easily finish at the end of the season in the top 10 in terms of the polls. Team looks great. The lineup is stacked. They have a lot of return. They have a lot of guys that are returning from last year. They have 2 All-Americans on the roster. 165-pounder Anthony Perotti. His senior year, he was an All-American 2 years ago. He missed out back in the spring. And they have redshirt sophomore Anthony Ashnall from South Plainfield. Right now, the only high school wrestler to ever go undefeated all 4 years and win 4 state titles. He is also an All-American. He finished 8th place just this past spring. He's in contention. I think he is one of those kids you can
That's so crazy, isn't it? You go undefeated in high school, win 4 state titles, and you're 8th in college.
That's ridiculous.
It just shows you the type of wrestling that goes on in the Big Ten and across the country.
I mean, I think he's in for a good season. He was 29-8 last season, which is that's very impressive for a redshirt freshman last year. He's a redshirt sophomore this year. At 141 pounds, Ohio State's Logan Stieber is gone. He graduated after 4 national championships.
That kid was an absolute animal.
He's ridiculous. So the weight class is a little more open this year, but I mean, you can't expect a national title from Ashnall this year, but you can definitely see him finish maybe top 3, top 4. He's going to be in the running. He'll be in contention, but he's going after this year. He'll definitely end his career with a national title at some point.
Nice. I know all our high school wrestling fans out there are getting geared up for getting the official workout started right around Thanksgiving week, starting to cut some weight.
Coming. I I'm maintaining my weight too for the club team. no cutting weight anymore. I wrestle where I'm at.
No cutting.
No
cutting for the club team. All right, let's get back to high school football a little bit. We're talking with Nick Kosko, former Egg Harbor Township high school football player and wrestler. He was in it here a couple years ago with the Egg Harbor Township Eagles. And looking ahead to some of these playoffs, exciting night last night. I don't know how much you got to keep track of it. I guess you went out to see your boys play Millville.
Did end up getting out there, yep.
What was that game like? I mean, were you surprised they took them to overtime?
No, I thought that was going to be a competitive game throughout the entire, the entire duration. But, Millville struck first. They scored a touchdown, and then they ended up missing the extra point, about 20 yards to the right. It was a bad kick, and then that's what kind of led them to go for 2 for the rest of the game. I mean, EHT didn't look like they were in the game offensively. They have the new quarterback out there, the sophomore Billy Germani. He's out there starting. They moved David Rice to wide receiver last week against St. Joe's, so it was only a second start. He's a young quarterback. They're getting him ready. He looked pretty good. I mean, he was only 2 of 7 last night, but he's got a good arm. He's throwing the ball pretty well.
Yeah, I know. Coach Stetcher was kind of high on him early in the season.
Oh, yeah,
he obviously had to wait his turn a little bit behind David Rice there. What about some of these other scores? Anything really jump out at you? Obviously, Mainland, with a big win over Vineland, and they get in there in the playoffs. They could have gone maybe, according to Kevin Minnick, from 9th to 5th, so quite a big jump. Maybe, we'll see where they fall in that South Jersey Group 4, but you got to be impressed with that squad. They had a real tough October. They had that gauntlet like we talked about, having to play teams like Buna and the Prep and St. Joe's and all that, but they've really, gotten themselves kind of on steady feet here as the postseason approaches.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, just according to my estimates, obviously I'm not in as, I'm not as good with the PowerPoints as Kevin Minnick is, but I only had Mainland jumping up to 7th from 9th place, just based on the other team, some other teams winning. But I mean, they could very well be at 5th. I mean, that'd be a huge advantage, considering that they could either play, you
almost need a course in this in college to figure out these PowerPoints.
No, it's ridiculous. I do know. What I do know is that it's 6 points for a win, and then you get extra points based on whatever group that team is in, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you get those residual points. So you get 3 points each, I believe, for every one of your opponent's victories that's not over you. You get a victory for that.
Yeah, so it's definitely a system you got to be up on to figure it all out.
Oh, yeah.
But what about St. Augustine Prep? I mean, their quarterback, Jose Tabora from Egg Harbor Township. Do you know that kid? Do you ever have any experience with him in the younger leagues?
Not that I can remember, considering he's 2 years younger than me, so I never actually played him on the level and the youth level, no matter where he played. I believe he played for YO, but yeah, he wasn't. Considering 8th grade for me was his 6th grade, so he's on the JV level. I'm on the varsity level at that point, just in terms of the age difference. But I've seen the kid play. I've seen him wrestle. He's a great athlete. Extremely great athlete. He's a great quarterback, and he's really helped that team out, getting a 2 seed in what we know is a stacked non-public Group 4, absolutely stacked. And, a 2 seed can go a long ways. They'll have a home game, a win. If they finish the 2 seed, though, if they win that first home playoff game, they're gonna have another home game in the semifinals before they have to travel for.
Jim Brady, also a real good wrestler on that squad.
No, that kid's he's unreal. I thought he graduated last year.
He's definitely a man there at the high school level.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He
220 pounder.
He really turned it on last year in terms of wrestling, and he seems to be really coming into his own as a linebacker this year. He's pretty dominant.
Yeah, he's averaging 10, 12 tackles a game, really solidifying that defense. So it'll be interesting to see how they make out next week in the first round of the playoffs.
I could definitely see him getting to at least a semifinal game, but obviously those big North Jersey private schools are a tough matchup. So I mean, I think you'll at least see them in the semifinals, prepping for that game. And if they happen to bow out before the state final, they'll have a big matchup against Cedar Creek on Thanksgiving. That's
going to be awesome. If both teams end up being out of the playoffs, that's going to be an awesome game.
That's basically the game for the Cape Atlantic League, despite the fact that they're split in 2 conferences. But those are
de facto Cal championship.
Exactly. You have the national champ and the American champ, and I think they really should at some point. I mean, obviously the league is actually going away, so that'd be a good way to send the Cape Atlantic League out with a bang if you have those 2 teams go at it on Thanksgiving for like you said, a de facto championship for the Cape Atlantic League.